Episode 1 of Chainsaw Man has this very surreal, dreamlike quality to it. Did you notice it? It's done mainly with the music and background sounds. The overall volume is low and kept calm, but everything is heard clearly above the background. There are moments when there's no background sounds at all. It adds this layer to the scenes that make them feel less than real. And it fits since the main focus keeps going back to Denji's dreams and aspirations, as small as they may seem. Only to leave this dreamlike sequence with the revving of chainsaws and loud music playing, once Denji becomes Chainsaw Man. To the point that the background noise is much louder than the zombie devil's voice, completely covering it up. I can already tell that Chainsaw Man is about to be the most well-crafted anime of the season, especially when you consider the OP alone, but I'll talk about that in another video. Axivon here, and I want to talk about the first episode of the brand new Chainsaw Man anime. The standout feature of Chainsaw Man Episode 1 definitely belongs to the sound direction, but we'll get to that in a bit. The episode covers the entirety of chapter 1, which may seem a bit slow until you remember that the first chapter of most manga is significantly longer than the rest. What helps here is that the fight against the zombie devil is extended. While it doesn't make the zombie devil seem stronger by any means, it just shows the overwhelming power and numbers that it had against Denji. I expect this 12 episode season to cover from this point forward about 3.5 chapters per episode though. Since we know the voice actor for the Shark Fiend, the story would have to at least get to chapter 30, and by that point we are well into a very specific arc. To avoid major spoilers for anime onlys, let's just put up this out of context panel and say that I think this will be the final scene of the season. That overall is an extremely normal pace for an anime. Mix that with the fact that Chainsaw Man already felt like it was moving at a blistering pace in the manga, this season's going to feel like it flew by. I mentioned the Shark Fiend's voice actor earlier. Let's talk about Denji and Makima's voice actor because they killed it. I had doubts about Denji's VA because his voice was so deep, but after hearing it in action, I feel like it fits perfectly. And Makima's VA fits even better. I know a lot of people are upset that she didn't sound seductive enough, but going the route of a very sweet and innocent voice, one that could easily get you to lower your guard, it makes perfect sense. Let's talk about the visuals now. This is essentially a one-for-one recreation of the first chapter, with more added than removed. You can pause pretty much anywhere and it's a scene from the manga. The opening sequence is shot beautifully, like it's straight out of a horror movie. For any anime onlys, you won't understand the true horror that this door holds, nor any hints to it besides this scene, but let me tell you, it is worth this scene, 100%. Now, let's talk about the CG, because that's always a big complaint for anime elitists who think they know best. I'm still not the biggest fan of CG, but I know that it can be used well. Currently, I think the best usage is in mixture with 2D animation in order to get the best camera angles. The uses of CG allows them to get shots that would normally not be possible, or at least really hard to do. And Chainsaw Man has a lot of really well done shots. The CG itself looks good, and it flows perfectly into the 2D, like when Denji first becomes Chainsaw Man. It isn't the CG that causes the animation to look how it is. It's very much intentional. This is Denji's first time turning into Chainsaw Man. He's not sure what he's doing, and so his movement is unskillful. Every attack is slow because it has weight behind it. He's just flinging himself around. It encapsulates the idea that this is completely new to Denji, and it won't go away anytime soon. Then there's the dreaminess to this whole episode. The fact that there are no differentiating factors between the flashbacks and what's happening in real time definitely helps with this feeling. When Denji has the flashback of his father's death, nothing really changes. There's no vignette around the screen indicating that it's a flashback, no black and white. There's no change to the sound. The same applies to when Pochita is reviving Denji. This ties into the sound aspect I mentioned earlier. The only sound that is elevated are the voices, and even the music itself conveys a dreamlike state. The only time before this where that was interrupted was when Pochita revved up. The sound of the chainsaw always breaks into this dreamlike state to wake up Denji. When did Pochita rev up? When Denji was staring off into space after being told he had to pay the Yakuza. And the next time that this occurs is when Denji actually becomes Chainsaw Man and the music completely changes. Now, the music and the sound of a chainsaw is just about completely blocking out the screams of the zombie devil. Where people's voices were easy to hear, now it's difficult. Denji is awake. Denji is alive. Another thing to reinforce that dreamlike state is that when Denji says he can't sleep, the music that helps to convey the dreamlike state stops completely, only to start up again once there's a knock at his door. There are two other moods conveyed with music though that I'll talk about real quick. When Denji gets stabbed and the zombie devil is introduced, the music that plays is almost nightmarish. It's quiet and it's in the background, but it's there. It's there to change Denji's life from a dream into a nightmare that he can't wake up from. And the last is when Makima holds him. The shift in music is not that of necessarily happiness, but the feeling of being alive. There's no longer this sound of being asleep in a dream or in a nightmare. No rock playing, no chainsaws revving. The sun is beaming down on them, and it seems like Denji is finally alive. At least for now. I honestly can't wait for next week's episode. This is such a beautiful adaptation, and it, along with Bleach, have got me hyped for the weeks to come. Not to mention the fact that the episodes are dropping on the same day as the new chapters for Chainsaw Man Part 2, which, for anyone who's new, I do cover on this channel as well. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I should have a video out tomorrow on the new chapter as well. Peace.